button.
Now streaming live.
There we go. Look at that. Oh, brilliant. So thank you everybody for joining us this morning. Today is a very exciting day for me because I'm interviewing my best friend, Sue Quigley from Hardcore Healing, all about her journey and her experiences. Welcome, Sue.
Thank you, Hannah. It's great to be here.
It better be.
I'm a little bit nervous. And I still love talking about myself, but I'm still a bit nervous.
So you'll be fine once you get in the swing of it. Okay, so if you could just start by introducing yourself to everybody and telling them a little bit about what you do, please.
Will do. So as you heard, my name's Sue Quigley. I run a small but perfectly formed little business called Hardcore Healing. I'm an energy healer, a soul reader, and a colour intuitive. So at the moment, I've been able to transfer all of my work online. So I do energy healing. I've trained in Usui Reiki and Angelic Reiki. If I'm honest, I tend to really use the angelic work an awful lot. As well as being a healer, I've kind of developed my own way, my own modality, as I think a lot of us do. I also do soul readings or energy readings and spiritual assessments and soul sessions, which are really just offering, I guess it's coaching, but with a spiritual element, so spiritual guidance or spiritual development. Outside of my remote work, I do chakra healing circles as well. Usually, or before lockdown, ran those in Herne Bay and co-hosted one in Whitstable with a wonderful lady called Maria Ryan from Ikigai, who does the crystal sound healing bowls as well.
Amazing, good, fantastic. I've got so many questions I want to ask you, but let's start with the very beginning for you. How did you start on your journey, and would you say there was a calling?
Oh gosh, there were so many stop-starts. I don't think there was one point where I go, right, I'm going. But there was definitely a calling, but if I'm honest, I really didn't hear it. I spent a lot of my 20s and 30s. I knew I was searching for something, but always searching outside of myself. I was looking for some kind of divine intervention, some savior. So even when I was drawn to working with angels, and, you know, I took my Reiki at the start of 2000, it didn't bring me what I thought it would, because I still didn't connect to the fact that I had to do something myself. So I'd got my Reiki qualification and I didn't really do anything with it. So I was always searching for stuff. I was constantly going for readings and I wanted to learn how to do readings. I always had a sense there was something more for me, but I didn't quite, I had nobody to talk to about my feelings. I had nobody to talk to about my interest in life after death, in a spiritual world. So I kind of just thought it was something that I harbored myself and didn't know what to do with it. And I guess it wasn't until, do you know, I think my journey began before I was consciously aware of it. My father passed away in June 2012, and that was the start of it for me, because something happened within that unexpected and sudden loss. Another door opened for me, and I do honestly know that his passing enabled me to go down the path I did. And I started out just learning about mindset, because I was always curious about us and how we worked. So I started off doing NLP, which opened more doors for me. I was introduced to a fabulous trainer called David Shepherd, who had quite esoteric teachings and learnings, and that fired something else in me, got me interested in other things about the world that we live in. And then other trainings I did, which weren't necessarily with the spiritual headline on, just opened different doors, got me being more and more curious. And then a few years ago, I just had this inkling to retake my Reiki. And even though people kept saying to me, oh, you don't need to do that. Once you're attuned, you're attuned. I couldn't remember anything about my previous training. So, and as things happen, you kind of get the nudge that that's what you want to do. And then I met a woman who was a Reiki teacher in a networking group, and I retook my Reiki with her. And I remember at the time thinking, I don't really know why I'm doing this, but I know I have to do it. And that just changed everything again, just started me on a different path, moving away from the work that I thought I was there to do and into a more healing. And it was definitely starting doing the healing work and working with energies that started to make quite a few changes for me. And I had quite a few physical and emotional issues, which I just had to work through. You know, you did that great interview with Wendy yesterday, and it was touched on then that the journey isn't always love and light. Sometimes it feels blooming terrible, but I never had any doubt at all that it was the right path for me. So, and things have just been changing quickly. And I would say the past 3 years, there's been a quickening and so many changes in the way I work and how I think and feel and everything.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing. Okay, good. So, what do I want to ask you about first? Talk to me about spiritual assessments. Explain it to me as if I know nothing, which most of the time I don't. Explain to me what one is, why you'd want one.
Why you'd want one. Okay. Well, spiritual assessment is, if you like, it's an appraisal. It's almost like, you know, if people that have worked in corporate jobs might be familiar with the term a 360. So it's an assessment of where you are now, a little bit about where you've been and what's in it for the future. But how we work is I blend with the person's energy to really get a feel for where they are on their spiritual path, if you like. So it's really good if people are considering working in a more spiritual way, or if they already are, but they're not sure what they want to do next. I always say to people, if you've got a focus that you want us to talk about, then we can do that. But essentially, it is all about potential and possibilities. Because, you know, some of us want to be a healer, some of us want to work in mediumship, some of us want to be specifically clairvoyant. But we might miss actually that we have an affinity for considering other ways of working or working in other fields. I've met people who would be brilliant in whatever field they wanted to choose. But equally, I've done assessments with people where it's, you know, there could be a different leaning, you know, maybe towards working with oils and herbs, or working with color, or particularly healing. Or, as was one of the last assessments I did, you know, they hadn't thought about mediumship, but that was something that they would be really good at. But I say that last bit with a bit of hesitancy, because, as you know, when you do readings for people, as humans, we have the gift of free will. So we can always change our mind. So it's always about, what are your abilities now? What could you consider? Where would you like to go? And it's a two-way thing, you know, we have a real discussion about it. But also I can look at somebody's timeline and see what their spiritual journey has been so far, because it might be useful for them to know that things at a certain point happened. I can also see guides. Sometimes a guide will step in. I can see the spirit of the person, so I can see whether they, like, some examples are somebody had a pagan spirit, they were very, you know, working with the land and on the land. And it's great when you can connect those with people. And for a lot of people, when they have an assessment, it's a great confirmation. But everyone that's had a spiritual assessment will say that, you know, they just feel really fired up afterwards, because it kind of confirms things that they knew, but they maybe doubted a little bit. So they're great for anybody, really. But particularly if people are thinking of working, and maybe working professionally, as a healer or as a psychic or medium, you know, it's really good in that way.
Yeah.
And we can have a little bit of everything in there. I try not to be too prescriptive in my process. I always have a start point. I know where I want to start. But after that, we just see what comes in. Because spirit will, you know, I link in psychically to start, and we start that, but spirit will always try and come in and nudge me. And I listen, you know, because there's something.
You don't have a choice half the time.
I don't have a choice. And also that they kind of know what that person needs to hear.
Yeah, exactly. So they are for anybody, but really they're for people who are looking for guidance on their spiritual path, wherever they are, about where they're at and their potential, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I always say it's all about potentiality and possibility, and kind of that gentle, have you actually considered doing this? You know, and sometimes when you say that, sometimes people go, no, but that sounds good. You know, there's like something that deep inside knowing. Or sometimes there's that little wry smile that goes, oh, actually, I've been thinking about that, but I wasn't sure. You know,
I love it, because we all box ourselves in, and sometimes we're not even conscious that we have. So something like that is a really great way of opening you up to just new ideas, new energy.
Absolutely.
You know. Okay, so can you tell us the story of the most profound experience you've had so far? Can you pick one?
God, I will pick one, but I just want to say there are so many. And sometimes I've answered that question to somebody and it's felt so amazingly profound to me. But when I've told them about it, it just sounds really naff. But I guess, so out of everything that's ever happened, you know, so last year, you and I spent a week at Arthur Findlay College.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for both of us, it was the most incredible, most profound week.
Indeed.
But for me, and I know this might sound strange, and I know that you know this, but, you know, when you first asked me to go on this course with you, I mainly went because I wanted to spend a week with my mate. And I thought it would be great. And I really didn't read much about the course, but the venue looked quite nice. And the closer we got to the event, I actually read the agenda, and I suddenly had an awful feeling I'd signed up to the wrong course, because it was all about mediumship. And I thought, oh my goodness, I don't do that. What am I going to do? And I felt like a huge fraud. But it ended up, you know, within an hour of being there, I knew I was in the right place. And that week held so many things for me. That week completely changed me and my life. And I have to say, within that, on the Thursday evening, Tony Stockwell did a trance demonstration. And I have never experienced anything like that in my life. I was sat about 3 to 4 foot away from him. And with my own eyes, during his trance demonstration, he physically changed. He's shifted shape. And I saw spirit. And it was, even now.
Yeah. This is the wrong week to be talking about this, because we're if it wasn't for lockdown, you and I would be back there this week, wouldn't we?
Yeah,
having more amazing, profound experiences. So we're both a little, for anyone watching, if we look a little weepy, it's because we're also mourning what we were expecting to receive in 2020. So
but also, Hannah, to have a belief in something, but then to have that belief changed to a knowing. And that was so profound for me, because when you've seen something like that, you can't put it back. And the tears are joy, because that's what spirit does for me.
Yeah.
When you see, and I, one of the funniest things though, is I couldn't speak afterwards. I find it difficult to talk about, one, because I get so emotional, because it's just so amazing, but also because I didn't know how to speak afterwards. I didn't know how to explain it. And it was almost like my brain wasn't computing what my eyes were physically seeing, you know? And more than that, wasn't just seeing his shape change when he was it was just phenomenal. And it was just like, oh my God, I don't believe anymore. I know. And I remember meeting you afterwards, and I don't think I could speak properly for the rest of the evening. I just kept going, it was amazing. It was amazing, because I just, even now, I always think language sometimes spoils the experience, because we try and articulate what is just the feeling. And, that, I don't know, it just changed everything. And that feeling of, well, I can't go back now. You can't. It's like the genie's out the bottle now. You can't put the genie back in.
You can't. You can't. Oh, I love it. I love it. So I think you've frozen ever so slightly. I've probably frozen to you too. You've got to love Zoom. So I'll just wait for you to come back. Ah, you're back. Lovely. Yes, you're there.
Ah, yeah. Sorry.
Can you hear me?
We'll muddle through it.
Well,
yeah, I can hear you.
Ah, hello. There you are. Good. Good, good. I don't know if that's my end or your end, but I do apologise. Okay, so can you hear me, Sue?
Right. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, brilliant. So we've talked a bit about how your work's progressed, but can you talk to me? I know you've said that you've had this recent sort of roller coaster. It's got going a bit quicker. It's expanded. Talk us through that a little bit. Explain to us what that's been like for you and what you've learned.
Oh.
Ah, you're back.
Oh, I'm back. Oh, it keeps stopping and starting.
It does. You keep doing that computer voice, you know, the one where it goes all funny. Right.
Yeah,
I think you're there. You seem to be moving live now.
I think we're back.
What I asked you was, I know that you've said that recently you've had a big sort of progression in your work. Things have really changed and moved forward. Can you talk us through a little bit, sort of what you've learned, how you've progressed in that time, and why? Why do you think that's happened?
Well, I can tell you that, oh gosh, I think I learned to just sit with the work, and definitely not to overthink it. And everything I learned at Arthur Findlay was, just go with things without thinking about it. So I really had to learn to get out of my own way, which I think is going to end up being a common thread through most of your interviews, because I think we have to learn that, don't we? But I'm just going to talk about what's been happening since we went into lockdown.
Okay.
And if you like, forced to work online. And I was the sort of person that always felt like I needed to be in person. I needed to feel a connection. I needed to be in the same room. And I just preferred that. I would never have considered taking any of my work online, apart from some of the soul sessions, the coaching work. But in being forced to do that, everything's got really more intense. I do think the energies are so strong at the moment. But what this gives us, this one-to-one, if you like, I know we're going live on Facebook, but this little Zoom machine, this Zoom room, it's enabled me to have a more immediate and more intimate connection with somebody. And so that in itself has ramped up all of my work. In the energy readings, in the spiritual assessments, it's all coming in so much quicker, so much richer. But also I'm noticing that the people coming in for the readings are people that are just touched by something. They're kind of just guided. And they don't quite know why, they don't quite know how they've arrived, but it's just all right. And I think this moment in time is awakening people. There's a massive collective awakening going on anyway. And some people and knowing that something's different, but they don't quite know why. Some people are a bit hesitant because they've never considered themselves a spiritual person or open to things like reading energy, but they are coming forward. And this, I think it's presented us with an amazing moment in time to be doing this work. So, and I almost think that the way that I felt that quickening is because it was getting me here to this moment in time. And if you like, I almost felt like prepared for this, prepared for this intense way of working, prepared for to just being more open. And so to just be able to sit with it and just be trusting of like, okay, let's see what happens now, without having a set process, without having a set formula. I don't know if that's completely answered your question.
No,
but
I get it.
I was just drawn to, I think that everything quickened and for this moment in time, to be working in this way, to be presented with slightly different way of working, which, if you like, it cut everything else out. So it just ends up being you with the people that are in front of you on camera. But it just feels so intimate and so connected in ways that really surprised me.
I think you're right. I mean, as you know, because I'm always messaging it to you, it's the rising, because that is what I've been feeling since lockdown started.
Yeah.
We knew something was coming. We didn't realize it was going to be a virus, let's be honest, full disclosure, didn't see that part of it, but we knew that there was a shift coming this year. We've all been working towards that shift and excited about that shift. Didn't quite grasp how it was going to manifest, but understood that it was coming and what it was for. And I do think you're right. It's that opening up of the energies to more people. More people are starting to realize there's something more here, and just be inquisitive about it and explore it. And
it's so, so I do angelic work, and I love working with the archangels. And I remember at some point very early on, I went into a meditation and it was just like, oh my goodness, Archangel Metatron is really leading the pack at the moment. He's really overseeing all of this. And I think I messaged you and I said it. And then the next 2 weeks, so many things cropped up, just things about Archangel Metatron, things about rainbow energy. And I mean, we've spoken about rainbow energy as well, haven't we? The angelic energy. And we've got rainbows in windows everywhere. I don't believe in coincidences. And I believe that no matter how conscious we are of it, we deep down, we know there's things that we need to do, things that we need to bring up. So
it is, it's a magical time. It's interesting. There's my word again, interesting. Okay, so here's a hard one for you. What's your favorite part of your work?
Definitely the people that I meet, both from the people that want to work with me, because when you work soul to soul, you see that person. I mean, you see them. You don't see their title. You don't see all the things that they say about themselves. You see who they really are. And I have to say, it's just so amazing. You see, people are just phenomenal and so lovely and so loving. And I see all their potential. And just, I'm going to use your word, and so interesting. I just get to meet so many interesting people and people that are doing the same line of work. I just love engaging with people and having conversations that other people would probably think were a bit weird and way out. Those long messages into the night, or those just conversations that it's lovely to meet somebody and we have a conversation. They go, oh, I'm so glad to be able to talk to you about this. I can't speak to anybody I know. They think I was bonkers. Because I would say nothing anybody tells me will ever make me think that they're crazy, But
there's an opener. There's a challenge to the
Yes.
universe you've just set. Enjoy the results of that.
Careful what you wish for. But yeah, definitely the people I meet, as I say, whether it's people that come to me as a client or wanting to work with me, or whether it's just meeting people that are doing the same kind of thing, because you know, it's just such an interesting.
Well, that's why I wanted to do these interviews, because, you know, you and I, we spend a lot of time together. We talk a lot, we communicate a lot, but I don't know all of your story. And it's just so, you know, it is interesting to find how spirit manipulated people, and I will call it manipulated, to where they needed to be for what they needed to do.
Like
And
making me think I was going away for a spa week, and actually
you've broken up then, but I heard Spa Week and I know what you're talking about.
in my defense,
oh yeah,
Arthur Findlay
College. You've broken up again, Sue, but I know what you're talking. Yeah, it's really bad, but I know you were talking about thinking you were going away for a jolly up with me for a week and then having your whole life changed at AFC.
So wobbly again.
Yeah, it has. It has. You're frozen at this end. Let's just see if I can get you back. I've been so lucky with tech recently.
I know. What's going on with it?
I know.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm not sure I would have gone.
Oh,
Looking
you're
all
back.
right.
Are you back? Oh, internet.
I hope.
There you are. Are you there?
Yeah.
Excellent. Good. Good. I think you might have frozen again. Oh no, you're back.
A bit wonky.
Oh, fun times. Soldier on, resilience building. Okay. So if you could go back in time to when you started, what advice would you give yourself? Not to do interviews live on Facebook, on Zoom might be the one. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Emotion.
Right, are you there?
I'm here.
Good. Okay. So what I asked was, if you could go back in time to when you started, what advice would you give yourself?
Do you know, if I'm honest, if I went back and told my old self would not have listened. and I wouldn't even have understood. But what I wish I'd known was that I was okay. I'd wish I'd known that I was good enough and that I didn't have to be searching out. Because I guess what the advice would have been was, you're looking in the wrong direction. You know, all the time we're looking out there, we're looking in the wrong direction. All the time you're looking for someone to save you, or something to save you, or someone to do something and bring you things that are going to make it all better. We're looking in the wrong direction. But I would not have understood the concept of going inward. I wouldn't have even known what that meant.
No.
But I think, see, I know now that I'm okay. I know that I'm all right as I am. You know, we can always improve. We're constantly developing. But actually, I'm all right. I quite like myself. And I don't have to be anybody else. And I wish I'd known that, as well as that the answer's inside. It's not out there. It's never out there, you know.
I quite like you too. I think you're all right, just so you know. Okay, so I know you've kind of touched on this, but I've got the question and I want to ask it. How has your work changed your life? Apart from now knowing that you're all right.
I'm not going to cry because I've already done that. But it has completely changed my life. I am not the person I was in 2012. I'm not the person I was in 2016, even 2017. but I have certainly completely changed in my nature. I'm so much more peaceful. You know, I never had any stillness or quiet before. I was always questioning. And although I question now, it's just brought me just such a much more peaceful, contented life. And just the fact that I'm just see so much joy in little things. You know, I'm far less materialistic than I used to be. And I just find out what really makes me happy, you know, what really brings me joy. And people that know me know that I talk about that a lot for themselves. You know, you've got to find out what brings you joy. And certainly that connection to spirit has brought that. But it does mean that I do cry more easily. But I cry over happy things, you know. Definitely.
I remember asking spirit to take away, because I'm like you, I cry at everything, and not just happy things. I cry at like adverts in the cinema and all sorts. And I remember saying to them, can you take this away, because it's just embarrassing. I'm fed up with doing like a walk of shame with the red nose and the red eyes. And they said, well, we can, but then that will suffer your connection. Ugh. So it's your choice. And I was like, oh, I'll keep it then.
Do you know, I remember when we came back from Arthur Findlay and I'd already got lost twice on the way home on what is a well-known route home, because I was just like, oh, wow. And I just walked in the door, and my husband, and he just went, well, and I just stood there and burst into tears. And he was like, oh my God. But I was just like, I've had just the most amazing week. And it was, and it still brings tears to my eyes, because it was just, yeah.
Magic.
Just amazing. Yeah. You just feel like you've done that full circle, don't you?
Yeah.
And you finally arrived home.
Took long enough. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, God, didn't I make it
circle? It was more like that.
Yeah, a circle that's really wonky and wobbly, a bit rectangular.
Indeed. Okay. What is something you wish that everybody knew about your work?
That you don't have to understand how it works. That you don't have to figure it out. Because if you do that, you know, we're not going to get the work done. You know, especially when I do energy readings and energy scans, you know, it's best not to question. Mm-hmm. It's best to just go with what comes up, as long as we get the result, which we always do. But yeah, it's that we don't always know. We don't have answers for certain things, you know.
Yeah.
And
True.
Sometimes it's best not to, because we unpick it a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
So
indeed.
You don't have to understand it. I always say that about healing, you know. People come for healing and then I say, well, we can do it remotely. I don't, yeah, you don't have to know how it works, because, but
just enjoy the fact that it does.
Do you feel it?
Yeah. Indeed. Okay, so we're nearly at the end. I've got one more question for you, which is, what's next for you?
Well, I know that, as I said, that this moment in time, I do feel like I'm standing on the edge of something. There is something more. There is a big something, but I'm not quite sure what that is, but I just have this feeling. For now, I'm really developing my readings and assessments, because I just think there's more to come with that. And though I do feel like I want to work with a group of people. Now, I know that both you and I have a passion about the fact that people don't often work on themselves. And you know, I'm passionate about this because this was me. This was my experience. You see things that you want to do. You know, I want to understand how to work psychically. I want to understand how to be, you know, I want to be more spiritual. But we kind of forget the fact that we need a relationship with ourselves first, and we need a relationship with spirit. So I want to work with a group of people that actually, they may feel they want to do healing. They may already do healing or other things, but they recognize that they actually don't have that relationship or awareness of self. and maybe they don't have a stronger connection as they would like with spirit and their spirit team, you know, their guides and helpers. Because sometimes, you know, in our quest, and again, I'm speaking for myself, I know, in your quest to be more spiritual and to do all the things you want to do, we make it harder. Because if you can nurture that connection to spirit, if you can nurture that relationship with your guides, they do all the heavy lifting for you. So you don't have to sit in a healing session and go, oh, am I delivering value? Oh, am I doing it right? Oh, are they enjoying it? Are they going to get the result they want? Or even if you're doing a reading, feeling the same thing, because you're out of the equation. You pull yourself out and you hand it over to your team, and you know when they're there.
Yeah.
So you get your confidence by feeling that connection that you've got and knowing when it's there. You know, if you want to know if you've got a connection to your guides, you have to sit and develop that connection. So you feel, I've got my guides with me, or my guides moved away, you know. Yeah. So I think that is coming next for me. You know, I just want to take a group of people that are really interested in doing that, and doing that, if you like, self-inquiry. So what do I need to know about me? What do I need to know about me as a human being on a spiritual journey? Because as well, sometimes a lot of the work I do means pulling spiritual people right back down to earth. You know, I do a lot of work with the chakras, and sometimes people, you know, they just want to work up here. But that's not our purpose. That's not why we've incarnated into this lifetime. We've incarnated to be a human with our feet on the earth, and we can do both. But actually our connection to spirit is stronger when we're firmly rooted and grounded as well.
Agree. Well, thank you. I've really enjoyed talking to you, but I always enjoy talking to you. So this was nothing different, except for I got to fire questions at you.
Yeah, even with the wobbly internet.
Oh. Yeah. Well, I'm over it now. Whatever. It's just the way it's going to be for me, clearly. What a manifestation. So if you've enjoyed this interview and you want to find out a little bit more about what Sue offers, I've tagged her page on the post so you can pop over and have a little look. Thanks ever so much, Sue. It's been fantastic.
Thank you. Loved it.
Nice to see you. Bye, hon. Bye.